So I want to share an amazing story with you guys today. And this story is of two men. One of these two men, from a materialistic perspective, has been blessed with a lot of wealth. He has two amazing gardens, and in his gardens he has the most beautiful fruit trees, grapevines, palm trees, the whole 9 yards, right? Just imagine whatever you can if someone had the most beautiful farmland from the perspective of the 21st century, right? And he is doing really well. And he has a friend, and one day he's speaking to his friend, and as he's speaking, he goes into this state where he says, you know what, I don't think these are going to go anywhere. I think they're going to remain forever. I don't think the world's ever going to end. I don't think the day of judgment's going to come. I don't even know if there's anything else out there. He has this type of perspective, and he starts sharing these things. And his friend realizes that, you know what, all of these material possessions that he has have started to affect him and delude him. And his friend reminds him. And what does he remind him of? He reminds him of the reality, right? Because his materialistic wealth has distracted him and deluded him, but his friend is reminding him that, look, you weren't always here, neither were your gardens, and you're not going to always remain, and nor are your gardens going to always remain, right? He reminds him, he says, look at where you came from. Are you going to forget the one that brought you forth from dust, and then from this despised drop of fluid, from literally liquid? And then he created you, and he formed you, and he shaped you, and he made you the man you are today. You're going to forget him, your creator? And unfortunately, this man doesn't take heed. He doesn't listen to the message of his friend. And what his friend's trying to do, it seems like in this story, is that remind him that, look, you have these beautiful things, but don't let them distract you from the ultimate goal, the true reality of life, which is you were created and you will die, and the one that made you created you for a particular purpose, right? But unfortunately, this man doesn't take heed from this, and one morning he wakes up and he sees his gardens are ruined and they're finished. And that's what it takes for him to realize that none of these things, these material things, are going to remain forever, right? They're not permanent, right? And when it's taken away from him, that's when he realizes the reality of life. And that's where he says that only if I hadn't associated partners with my creator, my God, the one that made me and gave me everything. What's interesting is that in this story, which is found in the Qur'an, by the way, the 18th chapter, verses 32 to about 42. You can read it for yourselves. What's interesting is that he doesn't associate any partners with God. If you think about it from a very baseline perspective, he doesn't worship idols. He's not praying to another man or another thing or to anything else like that. All he's doing is he is completely immersed in his material wealth, and he believes his material wealth is going to remain forever, and he believes in himself, and it seems like that he believes that he acquired all of this and it's his forever, and so on and so forth. So why does he say that only if I hadn't associated partners with my creator, the one that made me, the one that gave me everything? What's interesting is that, associating partners with God isn't just through worshipping other people or idols and so on and so forth. It could be that your material possessions become your idol. They become your God because you associate power to them. You think that they have some sort of intrinsic power, that they're going to remain forever, or you give power to yourself. You believe you are the one that did all the things that allowed for you to acquire all of this wealth. You believe you put in the work and you did all the, the hard work, and you gained all this money, and it was only you. When the reality is you've forgotten the truth, which is that God gave you the ability to get out of bed every morning and to go and work and to attain all of these things, right? And this is what the man had forgotten. And unfortunately, what it took for him to be reminded of this was everything had to be taken away from him. And I guess the message I'm trying to get across to everyone here today is that if we look at our lives in the 21st century, it's not much different from this man. Our material possessions are different, obviously, most of us. We are surrounded by iPhones and iPods and TVs and fridge freezers and amazing places to live and cars, and motorbikes and whatever else you could think of. If anything, we live in a world today which is far more materialistic than the world has ever been in the past, right? And unfortunately, what happens, just like in the story of the man, these material things, as we amass more and more material goods and wealth, they almost act like a buffer, a distraction. Right? We are surrounded by material things, and we start to think they're not going to go anywhere. We start to think life is always going to remain the way it is. The friends we have, the family we have, all the material goods we have, they're not going to go anywhere. We start to think like this, all of us do. But we have to remind ourselves that this is not what we were created for. We weren't created to just indulge in these material things and make them an end. No, that's not why we're here. But when they become a distraction, they take us away from our purpose. And what's such stories in the Qur'an, and there are profound stories, and God gives us the best of stories, so we reflect over them and come to our senses from that perspective. We remind ourselves, look, And remember this, from in an Islamic perspective, we're not saying you have to become a monk. No one's telling you to go into a monastery, give up all of your material possessions and let go of everything and just live a celibate life, worshipping God all the time. From that perspective, no. Islam is a balanced way, it's the middle path. What Islam teaches you, you can have your material things, you can have your material wealth, you can have the nice car, you can have the nice watch, you can have a nice house and an iPhone and an iPad and so on and so forth. Have these things. But remember and remind yourself that you have all these things because they're a blessing from the one that created everything that exists. They're a blessing from God. And use those things to lead you to fulfilling your purpose, which is to be grateful to God and to worship God. Make them a tool which help you to worship God. Right? And remind yourself of the reality. So don't let these material things become a distraction in your life, right? Remind yourself that they're there and they're a blessing from God, and thank God for these things. Don't be like the man in the story where what it took for him to be reminded of this was everything had to be taken away from him. Don't let it get to that. Just be grateful. Just be grateful to the one that gave you all of these things. That's the simple moral of the story. That's what we need to reflect over and think about. Because the reality is, right, even if you are someone that denies God and denies that natural disposition of the human being, which is to acknowledge the creator of the heavens and the earth, one thing you know as well as I do, and as much as you may want to deny it, is that you're going to die and you're going to lose all these material possessions. Either you're going to die and leave them behind, all these material goods that you collected and amassed, or these material things are going to leave you. Something's going to happen, maybe they're going to go, right? They're not here forever. And this is a reality even the atheist can appreciate, right? So don't put your happiness and your life and everything about you in your material possessions. Have them, enjoy them, but remember what they are. They're just temporary things which are going to leave us. And remind yourself of why you're truly here, which is to get to know God and to worship God, and use all of these material things as a means to lead you to that purpose. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you all.